Hey guys, Jess with Peekaboo Wreath. We are starting our newest wreath. It's going to be those vintage red, tan, and green colors, like that stocking one that we just finished up. But it's going to be on a 14-inch frame this time. Let me count out my 18 pipe cleaners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16. Sorry, I probably could have done that off camera. It wasn't super exciting, but I just wanted to show you how I do cut down some of the length on these pipe cleaners. They measure about 12 inches long, and I always cut down about 3 inches off the ends of them, just because I know that I don't need that much length, because I'm just putting in the ribbons and the mesh, and instead of having to go around at the end and trim them all, I just like to cut them all right up front. Okay, so we haven't wired a wreath form in a little bit, so I figured we'd jump on here and get that all going, showing you guys how I do things, I guess, from the beginning here. So this is a 14-inch frame. They sell these at the Dollar Tree. They've been selling them again. I don't know if it's because it's Christmas time or if they're gonna start stocking them all year long, but I do put 12 on the outside and 6 on the inside. If you can see that this has 4 different rings, and I wire together these 2 and then these 2. So I do it tightly so that it's not going to break the weld, but I don't want it to move. See, like these, it doesn't move. So I always put 2 on each of the crossbars and then 1 in between on the outside ring. And that gives us a nice big full wreath. Most of my wreaths measure at minimum 24 inches across. Some of them go up to 26. It just depends how much embellishments we add in and how many inches of mesh we add on. Sometimes we add 30, sometimes we add 20 in each space here, but we always have 18 ties. So we do the 6 on the top and 12 on the bottom. It always equals 18. If you have 1 roll, most mesh is cut to 10 yards in a roll. So if you take a roll of mesh and you cut it to 20-inch lengths, you'll get exactly 18 pieces. So that's one of the reasons that I like to do this, because you don't have to have like all these extra partial rolls of mesh laying around your craft room unraveling and getting all crazy, and then you go to use it and you don't remember how much is on there, or you know, maybe you didn't put it away properly and it's all like stuck on other ones or whatever. So no thank you, we don't do that. So we either cut 1 roll at 20 inches to make 18 cuts, or we take 3 rolls, cut them at 30 inches, and that gives us enough for 2 wreaths or 36 cuts. So there's a method to the madness, and that's how we choose to do it. So we're just tying these on here. Like I said before, you don't need to glue them in or anything like that. You just tie them. I just twist it 1 time, make it nice and tight so it's not moving, not going anywhere. And if you have some like problems with your grip strength, you can always, you know, put a little dab of hot glue, you know, right at the edges if you want to. It's totally up to you, but we only twist it 1 time, because then we're going to come in with our mesh, twist it 1 time, and our ribbon, twist a couple times, and then we'll be done. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside. That's how we do a wreath form, nice and quick, under 4 minutes. So there we go. All right, so we are going to cut now our mesh. We are using, since we are doing that rustic theme, using these ribbons here, the red, and then this really pretty green color, and then we have these little garlands with the red holly berries, and then the snowflakes. So that's the color scheme we're going for in this one. We have some bells that we could use. We have these ornaments that are really pretty with the same color red, and the burlap strings. We got all kinds of greenery and all kinds of goodies. So I'm using a rotary cutter. This is what I use to cut my mesh. Lots of different brands make them. This one is a nice retractable one. You can just squeeze it like this. There's a safety button there, and then you squeeze it like this, and that way you can cut it. I get that safety button because I do have 2 boys. They're young, and you know, with kids, sometimes you think that they wouldn't do something, but you can never fully trust a creative and imaginative and curious imagination, I guess. So we have these 2 rolls. This one is called a fabric mesh. This is 2. And this is one of the things people ask sometimes, like, how do you get your mesh not to fray? So I tend to buy more expensive mesh. So I know that, like, in many cases in life, you get what you pay for, right? So this mesh I like because it's fabric more than plastic, right? It is plastic, but it's fabric too, and it actually feels soft. This one here is a burlap fabric mesh. And as you can see, even like without unrolling it, see how this burlap one is thicker than the red one, right? And then if you had one that was like even like a cheaper material, it would be skinnier. And the reason it is because it's the quality, right? The thickness and the weave and all the things. So this one is a little bit thicker, but it'll be just fine. I'm gonna cut both of these to 20 inches long. So I'll have enough for 2 wreaths, and I will just be switching them on and off. And that's a good way for me to incorporate the rustic tones and the red that I want to include for Christmas time. So I'm just going to drop these right off my table here and stretch them across my self-healing mat that I use. You can use a ruler, you can use scissors. Some people don't measure their mesh at all. They just kind of like, you know, stretch it out and see what happens. But with me, I like to know exactly how much. I know that I'm going to need 18 pieces, and I don't want to have to unnecessarily cut into another roll if I don't unnecessarily, right? So I just make a cut that is a nice clean edge. I stretch it across. So we got 24 here, we got 4 over here, which means it's going to be a 20-inch cut. And then I just cut it through. And then when I place it to the side, I use like either like one of those big bins, like those Tupperware bins, but the big ones. Or you can even use like a laundry hamper if you needed to, like a clean one, or a spare one that you have, or something like that. And try not to like, I like to do this, I'll roll the mesh like this, and then I'll set it gently into there. Because if you just kind of like throw it all willy-nilly, then it can like fray a little bit more. So you just kind of want to be gentle with it. You don't want it rubbing against each other too much. So there you go. So I know this might be a little bit tedious for some of you guys. If it is, feel free to fast forward or catch the next video. That's fine too. But I know that some people do ask, and I know it's been a little while since I've shown the different steps and how I get a wreath prepped. So I wanted to show these little steps for you guys. Hopes to help out somebody. I've really been enjoying making these videos, and I've been getting some positive feedback that they've been helping people. So that's what we're doing here. I'm always happy to help. I know that everyone starts somewhere. I learned how to make wreaths from watching YouTube videos myself. So I watched lots of YouTube videos before I made my first wreath. I'm the type where I kind of want to make sure that I know what I'm doing before I use materials and quote unquote waste them, which I know that learning how to do something is never a waste, right? Everybody's first wreath might not be as good as their second, third, fourth, and so on, or 600th, right? So, I mean, practice makes progress. And just like with wreaths or with anything else, 2 people might be doing the same steps and it might turn out completely different. So that's the thing. There's room for everybody at the table, you know? I was talking to somebody that about a craft show that I have coming up. And if you're local, we're going to be doing Chippewa Valley, which is in Clinton Township. And then we're also doing Henry Ford, which is in Sterling Heights, Michigan. And anyways, I was talking to somebody and they were like, yeah, I know a girl that does wreaths and she comes every time. And my first like natural response was, oh no, I wonder if hers are better than mine. And I mean, it's normal to compare yourself to others, right? But you don't want to let it keep you from being you, right? You want to use the gifts that God has given you to the best of your ability. And nobody can do it like you can. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so here we go. Let's add our mesh on. So we're going to be adding our mesh every other one. The first one's going to be that burlap stripe. The second one's going to be the red. Okay, so what we're going to do with this one is we're just going to take this and we're going to roll it like once, and then just gather it up, keeping our thumb stationary, gathering up with our fingers, and then we're just gonna roll it once or twice at the end, just because the ends do fray sometimes, and we put the cut edge down, and we try to make it as even as possible. It's nice when it has a stripe like this, because you can make sure that you do stay right in the middle because there's a stripe on either side. And then I just kind of open it up to kind of make it as full and fluffy as possible. With this mesh cut at 20 inches, it's not gonna be super full before we add our embellishments on. But once we add in, Christmas is like a time where there's so many pretty matching things. You know, you can add bells, you can add ornaments, you can add woven ornaments, you can add pine cones, you know, greenery, all the things. So some people like wreaths with signs. Some people like wreaths with just big bows on them. Some people like, you know, all different things. So again, we're just rolling it one time, gathering it like a little bow tie. We're not opening up that tie. We're just placing it right down on top of it, giving it one twist, and then just opening up. I'm making sure that my mesh is not overlapping, but I'm just like lightly nestling it against the next one. So rolling it once or twice, and then just gathering it up. And if I have learned, if you roll it too many times, it makes it smaller and it doesn't cover as much of the wreath base. So a lot of times I use 30-inch pieces, but because there is going to be so many embellishments added, I think that the 20 inches will suffice and give us the look that we're going for. The thing I always have to keep in mind too is that I love the look of big full wreaths, but at the same time, shipping is very expensive, and the bigger the box, the more expensive it is to ship it. And it's kind of hard sometimes selling wreaths online because, you know, that shipping cost does affect the price, you know, and I know that a lot of people understand that, but at the same time, like a lot of people don't understand how much it actually costs to ship wreaths. The wreaths that I ship are usually in 24 by 24 by 6 boxes, and they usually start at shipping about $20. So it goes up. It depends on different things. If it's in a remote area, if it's, you know, far away, we live here in Michigan. If it's going somewhere like Texas or California, it's more expensive than if it's going to somewhere else in Michigan or Ohio or Indiana or something like that. So it kind of depends on the geographical location, and also if they'll charge more if it's a remote area. Now that holidays are coming, they're charging more for holiday rates. So lots of things go into selling wreaths. It's not just making wreaths, unfortunately. But it's fun. I get to meet lots of people through my Facebook page and on here on YouTube when you guys comment. So if you're not friends with me over on Facebook, jump over there. It's a good way to get to know me and get more tips. We do a lot of fun things. When these wreaths that I make on here do go up for sale, I list them over in my Etsy shop, but I will post them on my Facebook too. You know, a lot of the people that are on my Facebook, they've been on there for as long as I've been making this, so we've developed good friendships, and you know, we share our different designs and different things like that. So it's kind of like little friends over there on Facebook. So consider checking it out if you haven't already. So I'm just grabbing this mesh. I have a few more pieces to put on the bottom here. And what's nice with the 12 on the bottom and 6 on the top too is that it's a nice even number. So if you use 2 different kinds of mesh, you know that you put 6 on the bottom of each one, you know, 3 on the top of each one. So it's a nice even number. You're not going to have like 2 reds in a row, you know, nice and even which is good for the eyes. So here we go. We're putting on our last piece of red here. And again, we're just opening up that middle part, and then we're just setting it down in there. And then we're going to switch to the top layer. Just getting that mesh, making sure nothing's overlapping. There we go. Okay, now we have our top layer to do. So I'm just going to grab that mesh. We're going to do the same thing as we did on the bottom, on the top, and then we'll be able to add in our ribbon. And I think we're going to have a very nice big bow on this wreath. So I think that's going to look really good. yeah, everybody has different preferences. Like I said before, I've noticed that some people don't like signs. They just like bows. And sometimes when you add a sign to a wreath, it kind of narrows your audience. You know, because they might like a plaid wreath. You know, plaid, buffalo plaid appeals to lots of people, but then if you put a dog sign on it, it could be a good thing because, you know, it'll appeal to dog lovers that might not love buffalo plaid, but they love their dogs. But then if you add the dog sign on there, you know, maybe somebody liked that wreath but doesn't like the sign, you know, so to each his own. Lots goes into making wreaths other than making the wreaths, like I said, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do this. We started selling wreaths on Etsy about 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago now, which I'm super thankful I took that chance. My ever supportive husband encouraged me to try to sell them. I was too hard on myself and I thought, no, but I'm thankful I tried it. Thankful I took a step out. You know, sometimes you got to do things scared, right? You can be brave and nervous at the same time. I tell my kids that. You know, you can be scared and brave at the same time. You can take chances. You know, you never know unless you try, right? Which is what's been going on here on YouTube. I was always too nervous to make tutorials. I was always like, well, I would have people ask me when I would post wreaths, they would say, you know, do you have a tutorial on how to do this? And I'd say, no, I don't. But inside, I didn't want to do it because I felt like, you know, I didn't want to do it until it was, unless it was perfect, right? That's kind of my personality, unfortunately. A little bit of a drawback. You know, I didn't want to do it unless it was perfect. And I know that's like it's such a bad, not necessarily a lie, but it's a bad way to think of things because you know what? Nobody's perfect, right? If you wait and wait and wait, it might never be perfect. But if I'm able to help somebody now, then waiting isn't doing anybody any good, right? So come on. All right. I put that teeny tiny piece of mesh right there. I'm gonna put my bow there, and so I figured I'd just stick that right there. It'd be totally okay. The bow will hide it, and I took the pipe cleaner and I bent it all the way down because I'm not gonna be adding ribbon in that spot because I'm gonna be putting my bow. Okay, so this is our last piece of mesh we're gonna put right here. Gets a little tangly sometimes towards the end here, but we're just sticking all the mesh up, making sure nothing's overlapping. All right, we are all done. This measures about 23 inches across. It is all finished and ready for us to add our ribbon tails. All right, see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.